Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for coming. This is an important question, I think, for almost everybody in the industry. And my objective is to analyze why, to make the case for a new business model. It's analytic. You may disagree. It's not valid for everyone, but I hope you find it useful. Let me start with the first question. In a fast-changing world that we live in, where everything gets outdated in 1 year, 2 years, a few weeks, how many industries, and I'm not talking of natural stone industry, how many industries you know of when the same business model exists for 3 decades, 3.5 decades, without change, and yet the businessmen of the industry expect to keep having growth and make profits year after year without making any change, serious change in the business model. It is very unrealistic to expect that we can keep working the way we used to work throughout our professional careers, and the future will be similar, maybe with some ups and downs because of economic cycles. I don't need to explain, to highlight to anyone, what is the current stage of the industry. But we need to analyze, go beyond the superficial explanations that we tend to give and to explain the current situation, which is not positive. Let's talk of the new realities. There are several ways to examine the reality of a situation. I have tried to summarize it into those which I think are more relevant and which deserve deeper thinking. Let's talk of the technological reality. As a contrast to what the situation was 20, 30 years ago, or even 10 years ago, there are now alternative materials in the market, quartz, porcelain, and who knows what else will come in the future, which are competing with the same share of the cake which consists of natural stone. You mean the same applications, main applications that we have, suddenly we have new players entering in that market and taking away our market share. Whether the economy is growing or not is irrelevant. Then we have advances in the CNC machines, and I mention this not in a negative way or a neutral way, but actually in a positive way, in the sense that it offers enormous possibilities to our industry, which we have not yet examined thoroughly. Then you have demographic factors, a severe shortage of skilled labor almost everywhere in the world, not just in the West, but also in the developing countries. Now that has implications too. When you have a severe shortage of skilled labor, what it really means is that if you bring out a semi-processed stone product, if the value chain from the quarry to the end consumer has many intermediate stages which require manual intervention, and that manual intervention is more and more expensive, there is always a tremendous pressure on prices at every stage of the value addition chain. And that's very important to consider, because when you bring out a semi-processed product, which is called, let's say, slabs, then that needs further processing, it needs installation. All these stages require manual intervention, which take away which put a tremendous pressure on price pressures everywhere and affecting profitability. And then there is the fact of life. The modern stone industry grew about 3.5 decades ago, almost everywhere, 30 to 40 years. Now that's the professional life of any person, any human being. The fact of life is, those who began the company 30 years ago, 35 years ago, are closer to retirement. That is the fact of life. And then you need a change of generation. One statistic, and that is not of natural stone, generally speaking. Only 25% of the companies make it to the second generation. Because the new generation, either that are not willing, or it's not there, or they do not have the aptitude, or the industry has changed. But at a certain stage, if the transition to a new generation is not clear, the fire in the stomach of the founder starts extinguishing. Innovation comes to a halt. Decay sets in. It happens in every single industry. Why should it not happen in ours? Just think about it. Early 90s is when the natural stone industry developed almost everywhere, the modern multi-wire machine, first the gang saws, the multi-wire machines. We have done 30 years, 35 years now down the road. So a big demographic change is going to be taking place. It already is taking place. And wherever the transition is not successful, the company ends up closing. There is another reality. 30 years ago, there were not so many countries where the industry was developed. Now, we have seen Turkey, Iran, Brazil, and Algeria now. And these countries which had quarries have much more quarries now. There used to be a time, 3 decades ago, there were about 100 materials in the international market. Today, there are 10,000 or 15,000. So we are now a very fragmented industry because our products have become very fragmented. Very difficult to standardize, but it should be our strength because the uniqueness factor, which is our main core selling point, our USP, a unique selling point, uniqueness, comes naturally to our industry, which the copycat industry can never copy, which can never imitate. But the copycat industry is there, quartz is there, the big format porcelain is there. Now, a typical big format porcelain factory produces 6,000 square meters per day. I don't know how many factories are there in the world. But just imagine 6,000 square meters a day, 7 days a week, unlike natural stone. And apart from the massive surplus which already exists in the production of granite and slabs, there is a massive oversupply of slabs in the world market. Because when you make a slab, finally, to become a finished product, it passes through the same channel, the fabricator, the one who measures, the one who cuts, the one who installs. So there's a big bottleneck. The world cannot absorb so many slabs. And that is why the sheer reality is that most of the industry is working at maybe 50% of capacity or less. Some at 20, some at 30, some at 60. But we are working well below our installed capacity globally. There will be exceptions, of course. But this is the explanation, a massive oversupply of slabs. And porcelain, big format, lighter, bigger tiles, they have their advantages. At a time when skilled labor is scarce, a bigger tile means faster installation. A lighter tile means handling becomes easier. So it's a convenience product. Not everybody is looking for luxury. And when you have a convenience product, well, sometimes natural stone loses out. So practically, profitability is practically nil in the industry. I'm generalizing. I cannot make, of course, an exact analysis of the situation globally when you're talking of 1 million companies, perhaps. And then we have logistical disruptions. Normally, it didn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense to talk of logical disruptions because they are once in a while events. These things happen and then they disappear. But since 5 years now, we are seeing first the pandemic, then the post-pandemic situation when the shortage of containers, high shipping costs, and now this Red Sea conflict, which is creating serious disruptions. And when transport costs multiply by 3, international trade is severely affected. Like it or not, what happens when logistical disruptions become common? In the stone industry, it means, in practical terms, that architects, when they are specifying stone for a project, they will prefer a local material or a local supplier. So for no fault of ours, the architect will say, I want guarantees of supplies. I don't know what will happen tomorrow. I will prefer a local material or a local supplier. It really hurts our industry. It really hurts companies who have a global outlook. And what was international trade ends up becoming regional trade or local trade. It affects the industry. It is already doing so. We are already seeing architects saying, yes, I like this material. Yes, it has all the characteristics that I'm looking for, aesthetically wise and technically wise. But how can I be sure that if I specify this material, it will be there when I need it? So will the industry reality change? And the most obvious question is, why should it change? Economies can change. Economic up and downs happen all the time. But even when the economies were doing well, many companies were not really doing well at all, because there were some structural issues in the industry. So why should things change? In other words, we cannot just give an explanation, oh, the economy will improve and my situation will improve. And the second fact, let's admit it, porcelain is here to stay. The fact that porcelain companies may or may not be doing so well today because there is a massive oversupply is no compensation for us, is no consolation for us. Big format slabs and tiles will be there, 6 millimeter thick. And we cannot be 6 millimeter thick in our industry. That is the reality. So we need a totally new approach. And this new approach, we need it desperately. Because people smile a lot in a trade show, everything looks flashy, but we know what is the reality most of the time. And what could be the new approach? Number one, rethink all the basic assumptions. Our basic spinal cord of this industry has been big size slabs, big size blocks leading to big size slabs to tiles. This was the spinal cord. Blocks, slabs, tiles. Yes, there are other products, monuments, tombstones, columns, accessory products, not businesses, profit centers in themselves, not volume generators in themselves, accessory products. Number two, And that is the most important question that should be addressed in any brainstorming session. What consumer products can the natural stone industry develop which have the potential of being a mass market eventually? Maybe not today. So if you want to think, what can I do to ensure the survival of my business in the industry? Number one question, as an association, as an industry fair organizer, as a company, should be what consumer product, not what an industrial product, what consumer product are we capable of developing? Because a consumer product can have a potential market in the hundreds of millions. And when you have a consumer market which is in the hundreds of millions, then you have the potential of creating a new industry. You have the potential of creating a new path to profitability, to growth and profitability. And why do we allow, why should we consider big blocks to be a starting point? It's a mistake. Let us start with what the blocks are there in the quarry. Anyone who's been to the quarry sees a huge amount of waste. We like to say we are a sustainable product, but look at the amount of waste that exists in the quarries. It makes us unsustainable. So whatever approach we may decide on should have one more criteria. How can we make use of blocks that today currently do not have commercial value? China has actually addressed that question very well, not the rest of the world. And then why do we allow the end consumer to tell us, to dictate to us what should natural stone be? Uniqueness of natural stone means every slab is unique, every tile is unique. Why should we talk of uniformity? Just because the other guys have been promoting their product because they have the resources to do so, and promoting uniformity as the ultimate goal. Why does a natural thing have to look like plastic? The plastic industry is trying to look like us, but we are trying to look like them. So let's get rid of that mentality, and once we get rid of that mentality, we start thinking afresh of what is our true strength. So what are the new possibilities, given the current realities? We have used, especially in the granite industry, the kitchen countertop as our basic application. Perhaps not so much in China, but in many parts of the world, kitchen countertops was the basic application for granite slabs, till first quartz, and then porcelain came in. One reflection. There are as many dining tables in the homes as kitchen countertops. And why not make dining tables as our main product? Now, if you go around the fair, and we have been doing so yesterday, we have seen three dining tables made of natural stone. We have seen perhaps 10, 15, 20 tables, which are meeting tables. You have the business card there on top. You have the catalogs there on top. You have a flower vase on top. Yes, there are a lot of tables made of natural stone in the fair. But a dining table is psychologically different. A thing looks like a dining table when there is cutlery on the table. Not flowers, not business cards. Right now, what we have exists to make your stand more attractive. Show a dining table. Meet your customers there. But if your main product is a dining table made of natural stone, because there are as many dining tables in the world as there are kitchen countertops, as there are homes, then that dining table should look like a dining table. It should have plates there. It should have glasses there. And nothing, not a single business card should be there. Because that is the main product. That is where the eyes should go to. So what we think is accessory has to become the main thing, the core product. And when you talk of the core product, suddenly you enter a new industry. A dining table is not a B2B. A dining table is a B2C. You don't need further cutting. In an age of shortage of skilled labor, you are coming up with a finished product. The whole game changes once you start thinking of a table as something different. Furniture. Why not make outdoor furniture as our main product? Yes, there are some fantastic tables and chairs in this fair made of natural stone with great design. But once again, they are there only to show the technical capability of the company. They are not there to be seen as a main product, which it becomes a source of income and of the company. It's a wrong positioning. It's the right product and the wrong positioning. Because we are a B2B fair, we think B2B. But the finished product in natural stone, for the exteriors where there is no competition, needs no further processing. And that solves another of our big problems, the lack of skilled labor. Also, because there is design that is involved, the weight is not as much a criteria. And what is the size of the market? Look, there are about 100 million Americans with private gardens. I'm not talking of public parks. 100 million in Europe, 200 million. Rest of the world, at least 100 to 200 million more private gardens. There is always a summer somewhere. Sometimes the summer is 2 months. Sometimes the summer lasts, or moderate weather lasts 10 months. But when you have a garden, you want to sit there. Why do you want to sit on plastic chairs? Why do you want to sit on plastic chairs which are replaced every year? I have shown these same images in my talks when the audience is interior designers. And after the talk, do you know what everyone asks me? Where can we find them? They're not saying what is the price. They're not pointing out defects. They were saying, where can we find them? Because it looks obvious to us, but it is not obvious to the end consumer. It is unknown to the end consumer. And then, this is something more South European, maybe the culture of wine. Small blocks to make wine holders. Between Spain and Portugal, population is 55 million, 60 million. France, 68 million. Italy, 70 million. 100, 200 million. Germany, etc. Add. US also has a wine culture. Wine culture is developing in China too. Potential market, 400, 500 million. Simple, just make holes. Nobody will ask you what is this texture, this skin quality, this. No. Endless. Who knows about these products? No one. And then you can make coffee tables standard, cheap, or you can make coffee tables which are marvels of design and inspiration. And barbacoas, when you have a garden and you have your tables and chairs and you want to have your barbacoas, why not make them of natural? It's part of landscaping. Landscaping is not just small pebbles and here and there around the flowers. It's not just a few tiles here and there. It's much more. And why not barbacoas made of natural stone? Now, these are just some applications. They all exist. It's nothing new. But we have treated them as being secondary products, not main products. Now we have to take care of these criteria. The end consumer is always looking for something new. Always. Maybe the furniture industry is highly saturated, very competitive, but the furniture industry does not really have many natural stone products. When we enter in that segment of the market, not in the building industry, not for architects, when we enter in the furniture industry, which is a huge multi-billion-dollar industry, very highly structured with several segments, a huge new world is opening up for us when we go to them and show them what we are able to do. Second thing, I talked of design, because design is what gives value to a product. But design also has a cultural element. When you come to China, you see every design in a different way. The paintings in the hotel rooms, in the lobbies, they're Chinese designs. But when you go to Europe, you see them differently. When you go to India, you see different kinds of colors, different ways of working. There's a design element, has a cultural element. So what you cannot do is to think like a Chinese or an Indian or a European and to sell to different market with a different culture. That sensitivity we have to develop. Now, this is important too. When you start with something new, don't just take the plane and go out as far as possible. You start locally, because there is always a local market for these things. You learn. You find out what sells, what doesn't sell, what design, what colors, what it sells. It takes time to learn. And then once you have learned, you grow. So the new stone industry will have to begin with a local market, then a regional market, and then possibly a global market. It's a step-by-step approach. Now the fairs also have to change. The fairs cannot be B2B only. For example, the Xiamen Stone Fair has done a fantastic job in having a separate pavilion focused on design. I don't know if someone from the organization is here, but let me propose to them one simple detail. Next year, have a separate pavilion, half a pavilion, just with furniture, and invite to this fair, not architects, but furniture distributors, importers, wholesalers of furniture. Get them to see this. Once you are doing that, you have combined the product with the buyer, with the logistic network. And then that is when you make a fresh start. The possibilities are endless. By doing things, new things. We need just some imagination. The enterprise is still there. There's so many young people here in the audience. Thank you. If there are any questions, I would be very happy to ask. Yes.
So, sir, I'm curious about, as the second young generation, what would you recommend us to give us some tips to run this business as our dad and family does?
Think different, think new, because it's a new world. You have to start again from zero.
It's intensive capital, intensive industry, right?
Yes.
And we cannot just build up the new factories and quarries. So
No. Look, billions, hundreds of millions have already been invested in making slabs. Start with dining tables. Because it starts with a slab. It doesn't start with a block. Furniture starts with a block, big or small, depending on it, depending on what you're making. But dining table becomes with a slab. So you're beginning a new application, not a product, a new application with something that you are already making out of the factory's investment that you have made.
I like that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Can you share me some about artificial stone, like the natural stone?
Sorry?
Can you share us about artificial stone, the new business model, not like natural stone?
I defend natural stone. You decide who to defend artificial stone. I really don't know.
She's asking about the artificial stone, new business model because it's different with natural stone. Some space.
Look, the thing is, what can you do with natural stone? With artificial stone? What can you do? Slabs, right?
The quartz slab and it connected stone, yes.
I really don't know because I personally, to be honest, my limitation is I think in terms of the possibilities of natural stone and not the possibilities of artificial stone because I do know that they obviously are creative people. They are better at marketing, better at everything else. They have to find their own solutions because I am trying to propose solutions. I have been trying to propose solutions which cannot be copied by artificial stone. You see. You cannot make furniture out of artificial stone, understand? So you have to find your own solution. I wish I could answer your question, but I can't. I really don't know.
We are looking for some new solutions.
Yes.
So are you guys going to the expo in Atlanta in April?
Where?
In Atlanta, ATL, in America.
No, not this year. No, this year. Can't be everywhere. I prefer to be here. Okay. Thank you very much.